Hello everyone, welcome to the SOPA webinar. SOPA stands for Settlement Online Pre-Arrival. We are a national program funded by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, providing pre-arrival orientation, employment and workplace culture communication support for immigrants coming to Canada. My name is Milagros Takwag, and I am the intake counselor for SOPA Manitoba. So by engaging with our SOPA program, you can get settlement help and referrals, develop job search and communication skills. My colleagues and I are here to ensure that you arrive in Manitoba better prepared, more confident, and enter the workforce sooner. So please visit our website, arriveprepared.com, for more information. Today, our webinar will be talking about important information on internationally educated engineers that you should be aware before arrival to better prepare you for your engineering career in Manitoba. I am very glad to introduce Ray Sator, our presenter for today. Ray came to Canada in 2010 as an internationally educated engineer from the Philippines to follow his heart. Whatever that means, we will know later. Ray is currently working as a traffic engineering specialist at the Manitoba Telecom Services, or MTS. And he is also the current Vice President for Finance at the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba Filipino chapter. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Mila, for your introduction, and thank you, Online Pre-Arrival SOPA, for inviting me and the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba to be part of this webinar. I am very glad to be part of this endeavor to share with you my knowledge and my experiences in settling in Canada, specifically in providing pre-arrival information for internationally educated engineers in Manitoba. To all of you who are participating in this webinar, I congratulate you for a job well done, for taking the next step in learning more about settling in Canada. I know that you have done an enormous effort to ensure you and your family's success in immigrating to Manitoba, Canada, and I applaud you for that. I've been in your shoes a few years back, so I know the mixed feelings you are experiencing right now, and that is why I am very happy and grateful that SOPA is extending this pre-arrival information to better prepare you and your family while you are still in your home countries. This is really good. So you can have or spend more time in job search rather than getting more information, hunting down information about how you should do and how to get back to your engineering professions when you get here. Your Road to PEng. I titled this webinar as Your Road to PEng and subtitled Engineering Credential Recognition Process in Manitoba. So your road to PEng means we will talk all about how to become a PEng in Manitoba. What is PEng anyway? PEng is short for Professional Engineer designation. So note that I said how to become a PEng in Manitoba, not in Canada. And why? Because the process that I'm going to tell you is applicable to Manitoba and may not be applicable to other provinces in Canada. This process, however, is applicable also for if you're applying for professional geoscientists. Okay. So before we go to the credential recognition process, allow me to further introduce myself so you'll have an idea of who I am and the path that I took to get my engineering credential recognized in Manitoba. So my name is Ray Sator. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in Electronics and Communications Engineering and a Master's in Business Administration from my home country, the Philippines. I used to teach engineering, have some experience in delivery of technical trainings for a telecommunications company, as well as project management. I was a project manager for a telecommunications company before immigrating to Manitoba, where I managed the implementation of cell sites. So why did you come here to Canada? Why did you want to come here to Canada? Hmm. Well, all of us have a different reasons for choosing Canada as our next home. And for most people, it's about their families and for a better future. Mine was rather simple. As Mila said earlier, I followed my heart here in Winnipeg. See, my girlfriend immigrated in Winnipeg in 2009, and I made the decision to apply for immigration to Canada under the federal skilled worker stream to follow her here. So, in 2010, we were reunited and got married in less than 2 weeks of my arrival. Great plan, right? So the lesson of the story is you got to have a plan. Okay. Now, not all newcomer to Canada will have the luck to be able to get back to their profession due to various reasons. Before I got here, I already accepted the fact that I may just be flipping burgers here and forget about my engineering profession. So, you know, you know what? Thanks to the programs that are available for new immigrants here in Manitoba, I attended the entry program and the Success Skills Center, where I learned a lot of on how to get back to my engineering profession and the settlement information. One thing that stood out from talking to my counselors is that they kept on telling me that I have to talk to the right people and attend networking events. So that's what I did. I talked to successful immigrants who have the same engineering background that I have. I got some survival jobs, and that's when I decided that I'm going to pursue my professional engineering designation. And I also made sure that I have the support of my wife. I made a decision because I didn't want to just be doing the survival job for the rest of my life, just being a production worker. But don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with those kind of jobs. I just don't think personally that I can keep up physically the labor, the physical labor for long term. So I said I made a decision with the support of my wife, right? And this is very important because you are going to make a life altering decision, and it would be in the best interest of you and your family, and to make that decision as a couple, to make that collective decision so that you'll get all the support that you need when you pursue your professional engineering designation. So after talking to a lot of people about the process of becoming PEng in Manitoba, I chose to apply the International Educated Engineers Qualification Program at the University of Manitoba. So I started in 2011, and by 2013, I have completed my post-baccalaureate diploma in engineering and became an engineer in training in the same year. When I got my engineer in training designation in 2013, I was able to land a job as quality assurance engineer in training for a high voltage transformer manufacturing company. And by 2014, I was offered a job by a telecommunications company as network services associate. And by 2015, I was offered the position of traffic engineering specialist. And I'm still with the company, with the same company today, and I am happy and enjoying um, my job. And I also started helping immigrants who wanted to pursue their PN's designation in Manitoba since 2011. And that's where I started to get involved with the Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba Filipino members chapter, which I'm currently the VP for finance and the chairperson for membership and mentorship. So that's my story in a gist. Let's go to our agenda. Our agenda for this webinar. So I have three main agenda for this webinar. First is all about the professional association. So I'm going to introduce to you the Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba. what it does and why it is important to us. Second would be all about the recognition process. So I'll share to you the various options that are available to you to get your engineering credentials recognized. I'll also talk about eligibility and requirements for each option. And third, I'll answer the most frequently asked questions about the process. Now, these questions uh, I have been asked most of the time since I started helping out internationally educated engineers to get their credentials assessed and recognized in 2011, which also includes where to get financial support when you need it. Okay, so let's talk about the professional association. The association is called Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba, which is formerly known as Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists in Manitoba. Here in Canada, it is the Professional Engineering Association that regulates its members. So the structure may be similar or not in your home country, but for some, it may be different, right? So for example, for me in my home country, the Professional Regulatory Commission, who regulates the profession, is run by the government. In Manitoba, a legislation governs professional engineers and geoscientists through the Engineering and Geoscientific Professions Act, the Engineering Geoscientist Manitoba Bylaws, and Engineering Geoscientist Manitoba Code of Ethics. Okay. So here are the legislation that governs the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba. Okay, well, the Engineers and Geoscientists Manitoba Vision and Mission. Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba is the leader and facilitator of the process that ensures excellence in engineering, geoscience, and applied technology for the public of Manitoba. So that is why the process of getting your academics assessed and recognized in Manitoba is very stringent because we want the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba wanted to make sure that you are a capable professional engineer. Now the mission. The mission is to serve and protect the public interest by governing and advancing the practices of professional engineering and professional geoscience in accordance to the Engineering and Geoscientific Professions Act. All right, the association's member chapters includes chapters that were formed based on geographical location and also some ethnic-based chapters such as the Filipino, Chinese, India, and Arab members chapters. If you belong to this group, you can get their contact information on the association's website, and I strongly recommend that you connect with them and start building your network. The recognition process. Okay, so let's talk about the recognition process. Your road to PEng. All right. So here in my slide, I grouped the process into 4 tiers and represented them in the form of a ladder or stairs. Just like a ladder or stairs, in order to get to the top, you'll have to take the first step, right? The first tier. And there's no shortcut. So the first tier here is at the bottom. Again, the first tier here is at the bottom in the assessment of our eligibility. The only way to make sure that you are eligible to actually apply for academic assessment to the association, the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba. There is no other way around this. You'll have to be assessed by the association before you can move forward. The second tier, depending on the result of your assessment, you may or may not have to take this step, which is to choose from a variety of options that are available to you to get your academics recognized. The third tier would be comprised of the Acts, Bylaws, Code of Ethics test, or the ADC test, your submission of your member in training application, submission of reports of your work experiences, your volunteer services, and professional development. And the fourth and the last tier, before you get your professional engineering and or geoscientist designation, is to pass the professional practice exam and submit 3 references to vouch for you and your engineering work experience. All right, so what's the difference between this slide and this slide? Okay, so in this slide, it's the same slide that I showed you earlier. I just put some numbers on it. The numbers represent how the steps are numbered in the association's website, so just not to confuse you. So it's the same process, just the numbering. You may wonder, where is number 1? Well, you probably guessed it. Number 1 is you're already doing it. That is immigration. So you're way ahead. All right. But before you actually submit for an application for assessment to the association, let's talk about WES, or the World Education Services. Okay, this is very important because this is very recent change in the process. Under the new process, you are now required to submit your academic documents to World Education Services, or WES, for evaluation. But I don't think this is a big change for most of you, because I believe this process is already included in the immigration process. However, if you have not done this step, you should contact World Education Services, or WES, and submit an application for an ICAP, document-by-document credential evaluation. And then WES will provide the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba with secure electronic access to your credential evaluation. However, if you already have an educational credential assessment, or the ECA report that was completed by WES for immigration purposes, then you must upgrade it to ICAP document-by-document report. You must also request for a duplicate report and select Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba as recipient of that report. And you can do this by signing into your WES account. All right. Note though that the WES credential evaluation does not replace the requirement for Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba's academic assessment. The primary reason for the WES assessment is to verify and authenticate your academic documents. WES only assessed the general level of your academic qualification as compared to Canadian education levels. Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba must still assess your engineering content of your academic program compared to Canadian Engineering Qualification Board standards, or the CEQB standards. So that's what the WES documentation is for. Okay, so let's go now to the different steps and further break them down. All right, tier 1, or the step 1, academic assessment. So what are the documents required and the language proficiency needed by Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba? There are 2 accepted language assessments to engineers by Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba: the IELTS, or the International English Language Testing System, and the CLBPT, the Canadian Language Benchmark Placement Test. For IELTS, you will need a score of 6.5 or higher in each module: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. For CLBT, you need a level of 8 in all modules. So if you have IELTS as part of your immigration requirement, then you can use that. If not, then you may take it here or wherever. IELTS is available here in Winnipeg, but you'll have to pay for it. And CLBT is available in Winnipeg, and your language may be assessed for free through the WELARC, or the Winnipeg English Language Assessment and Referral Center. Now, assuming that you don't have any of these two, but your undergraduate degree is in English, then you may still meet the engineers, the Geoscientist Manitoba's language requirements. But the association have the right to validate your language proficiency through oral and written evaluation. So that's their language requirements. Okay, so let's go to the academic application, assessment application. Well, number one is to gather your documents. I've listed down the requirements here, and some of it may already be covered by the WES ICAP document by document evaluation report. So however, if your transcripts are not in English, you'll have to have them translated. Resume. Okay, this is very important. Make sure that you present a comprehensive resume to capture your education, your training, and your work experiences. Because there are cases that your engineering degree is not directly correlated to your work experience and specialization in engineering. So for example, your educational background may be in electronics engineering, but your work experience is in quality assurance of manufacturing semiconductors. Now, the association may assess you to take courses in electrical engineering because electronics is under electrical engineering, right? Now, the association may also assess you to take manufacturing engineering based on your experience. So it is important that you give the association the complete picture of who you are and back it up with documents. Remember, the association will know you based on verifiable information that you will provide. If you do this, you may have multiple options of which engineering program to pursue. So in the case of our example, you have the option to pursue either electrical engineering or manufacturing engineering program. So it's really up to you. It's just um, like giving another option to what are available options to you. Number two, complete the application form, which is available to the association's website. And then the next step is to pay the assessment fee of $440. Okay, remember this. It is very important that you submit a complete application. Otherwise, your application will be returned to you. So below is the link of the step-by-step instructions of the application form. There is a checklist provided, so make sure that you provide them as requested. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. They will return incomplete application, and that will work against your timeline to complete your requirements. When your application form is completed and your documents is ready, you may now submit your application. And I was told by the association that soon you'll be able to apply online, so watch out for that by visiting the association's website regularly. When you've completed this step and have paid the assessment fee, you will receive an email from the association telling you that your file is now in progress. So when you receive the assessment, so you know when to expect the assessment results. Now, after this webinar, and after you do your research more about the application process and in the engineers Geoscientist website, and you still have more questions, you may contact the association's assessment officer, Claudia Siemko. Okay, the academic assessment result. Okay, so your application for assessment may result in one of the following. Well, number one, you may be assessed as academically qualified, meaning your academic program is at par compared to Canadian Engineering Qualification Board standards or the CEQB standards. Number two, you may be assessed to take exams or alternative options, and we'll talk more of this later. Number three, you may be denied due to various reasons, such as you don't hold an engineering degree in geoscience or your academic background is at a technician level. So, or you will be required to write more than 8 exams in order to become academically qualified. Okay? So, assuming that you were assessed as academically qualified, what's your next step? Well, you will receive an invitation letter to write the ABC test. What's the ABC test? Right. It's the Acts, Bylaws, and Code of Ethics test, the ABC test, and apply as a member in training or engineering intern or geoscience intern. So that means you skip the step 2 or the tier 2 in this presentation and move to tier 3 here. So you don't have to take this part. You move to the next step and proceed. Okay. All right. Okay. What if you've been assessed to take exams or all the alternative options? So if you're assigned the confirmatory exam program, you will be given the option of writing CEQB national technical exams, or you may be offered alternative options such as write the fundamental of engineering exams, take courses in lieu of the equivalent or courses of the CEQB exams at the University of Manitoba, apply for the Internationally Educated Engineers Qualification Program at the University of Manitoba as well, or apply for an interview, or apply and successfully complete a postgraduate engineering degree at a Canadian Education Accredited Board accredited institution. Okay, so let's look at each option's requirements and processes. Okay, talk about confirmatory exams. If you choose this option, you will have to coordinate with the association for the examination schedule or check the website. There are available past exams on the association's website. So some people have asked me before if this is a better option compared to other options available or the available that was given to them after they were assessed. And I would always reply, I'm not here to actually identify or tell you which option is better, because it will always depend on your situation by the time you will need to decide which option to take. You will have to factor in your work and your family schedule, as well as your current financial standing at the time that you receive your assessment result. At the end of the day, it will be you who will decide which option to take. Now, for this option, writing the confirmatory CEQB exam, what I can suggest is for you to visit the association's website and check the past exams. Given your situation at the time of your assessment, if you think that this option is best suited for you, then you go for it. So for this confirmatory exam, you will need to complete and pass all exams before the deadline set for you, which is 1 year multiplied by the number of examinations assigned to you. So say, for example, if you were assigned, say, 5 exams, then you need to complete all exams in 5 years. So that is 1 year multiplied by 5 exams. Once you have successfully completed all the assigned exams, the association will confirm your qualification from the date of your graduation, not the date of you completed your exams. Okay. Now, take note of the schedule of exams and deadline of applications to write the exams. Otherwise, you'll miss an opportunity to write an exam. and it may significantly affect your personal goals and timeline to complete the exams assigned to you. And the exam may be closed or open book, and the passing mark is 50%. And the result will be mailed to you approximately 45 days after you write the exam, and the fee is $300. So that's for the confirmatory exams. Option 2, courses in lieu or equivalent courses. You will have to contact the University of Manitoba for this option. If you're going to pick this option, you need to enroll the equivalent to courses that are assigned to you. Okay, and you will need to get C or better, and you must submit your transcript to the association. But note for this option, though, that the English language proficiency requirement is slightly different. So we have here IELTS, MELAB, KL, and some other test types that are accepted by the University of Manitoba. However, unlike the language requirement for Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba, the Canadian Language Benchmark Placement Test is not accepted language test type for going back to the university. So if this option appeals to you, I advise you take extra effort to learn more about the University of Manitoba class schedule and that are related to your courses and program. Most of our chapter members who took this option were those who already have engineering-related jobs here in Manitoba, and they just needed to get their PN's designation to move ahead in their career. And most of them have the support of their companies by allowing them to take courses and be out of the company for a couple of days in a week. And some of them even have financial support from the company. All right. Option 3, Fundamentals Engineering Exam. This is very new. I think it was just introduced last year. So to be eligible for this option, you need to be assigned with 5 or fewer technical exams and engineering economics if required. So you will be allowed up to 3 chances to pass this exam. If you're not successful after 3 attempts, then you will have to be asked to take a break for 1 year. Then you need approval from the association before you register to take this exam, because the exam is being facilitated by the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying, or NCEES. It's not the association who facilitates the exam, so you need to coordinate them. So before you decide to write the Fundamental of Engineering exam, I would suggest that you do the following. Review the NCEES process and requirements found on the link here here on our slides, and carefully review the ncees.org exams FE exam and the information regarding the disciplines available, like chemical, civil, electrical, computer, environmental, industrial, and mechanical, and other disciplines. Why? Because when you register, you will be required to choose the most appropriate discipline, because your engineering background may not be specifically identified, like let's say, for example, manufacturing. Well, if I'm not mistaken, there is no manufacturing engineering available in the FA exam, but the closest discipline to manufacturing exam is mechanical engineering. I know that mechanical, some people who have manufacturing engineering background back home, like their work experiences, they actually go for that discipline, manufacturing engineering. And manufacturing engineering here in University of Manitoba is under the mechanical engineering faculty, right? So when you register, you'll be required to choose the most appropriate discipline, okay? So, and the study guides are also available in the NCES website, so you can go and check them. It's available. You have to to pay for it. You have to buy it. Okay. All right. So the fundamental of engineering exam is a 110 multiple choice test. Okay. And the exam duration is 5 hours and 20 minutes. And there's some scheduled breaks of 25 minutes. And if you know more about, if you want to know more about it, then there's an NCES website called NCES YouTube channel. Go and check their website and click on that link, and then you'll find more information about it. But if you have more information about the process of like the coordination of the schedule, then you may send email to Sharon Sankar, and if you want to go ahead and choose this option, you will also need to send Sharon Sankar an email telling them that you are going for the fundamental of engineering examination option, and copy the assessment officer, Claudia Shimko. All right. Option 4. What is the option 4? Your fourth option is the IEEQ program. Okay. So I've told you that I actually took this option, and you'll see why. Well, the IEEQ, or the Internationally Educated Engineers Qualification Program, is a program that is offered at the University of Manitoba. You may apply for the IEEQ program if you were assigned with 5 or fewer technical exams. Now, the great advantage of the IEEQ program is that not only you will be refreshed with your engineering courses, there is also a co-op component where you will be applying to Canadian employers for 4-month experience. And cultural orientation is also part of the program, which is really, I think, is very beneficial for people like us who immigrate to Canada. So we can learn the differences between our home country and the Canadian workplace culture. Now, there is a language communication support also, wherein you learn and how to better prepare your resume and yourself for an interview. Now, I took the IEEQ program option, and I really benefited from these mock interviews, as well as the professional networking that were available. Because here in the networking, you will meet the professional engineers, IEEQ alumni, and even employers who's actually hiring. So you get to exercise or practice your pitch, and you get to meet the people who are actually hiring. And I've known some people who were actually hired because of these networking activities. And this is why the IEQ program appeals to most people, including myself, because in my opinion, it's a complete package to bring you up to speed on how to adapt to the Canadian engineering workplace culture. Now, it's like going back to school, learn and relearn, get experience, and when you're done to get your post-baccalaureate diploma in engineering, then you're all set for the industry, for the big world of Canadian engineering. Now, aside from the other language testing system accepted by the University of Manitoba, the IEEQ program also accepts the CLB, or the Canadian Language Benchmark Placement Test, where you need 3 8s and a 7 combination in 4 language areas. Okay. All right. So how much would the whole program cost? Well, it may cost up to $8,000, and which will include all the courses, course fees, the textbooks, supplies, parking, and other school materials. Now, the core fees here would depend on how many confirmatory exams you are assigned by the association. So as an example, I was assigned 5 technical exams by the association. And when I got accepted to the IEQ program, I have to take more courses to get the equivalent of the confirmatory exam that was assigned to me by the association. So I ended up taking 10 courses, which includes the mandatory engineering economics and the professional engineering practice in Manitoba. So if you plan to take the IEQ option, take note of the application period as well and their intake period. For example, for fall 2017, the IEEQ program intake for 2017. So let's say, for example, you're planning to enroll in 2017. The application to the program started in November in 2016 and will close in April 2017. So you have to take note of that. Now, if you want more information about the IEEQ program, you can visit their website or call the IEEQ office if you have some more questions. All right. What's the next option? Interview. The interview option is offered only to applicants who have over 10 years of high-level current and qualified engineering or geoscience experience. So that is why when you submit your resume for assessment, make sure you provide the association with a comprehensive resume, because the association may offer you interview instead of taking all or maybe some of the exams, depending on the result of the interview. Okay. You must also take note for interview that scheduling for an interview may take 6 to 12 months because the association will have to bring together a panel of experts for you for your interview who knows about your engineering background and specialization. And the interview fee is $500. Okay, so that's the interview. Not for everyone, but it is still an option if you have more than 10 years experience. All right, what's the next option? Masters. So if your undergraduate degree was engineering, well, of course, we would assume, right? So you have the option to complete a Master of Science in Engineering or a Master's in Engineering or a PhD in Engineering at a Canadian Education Accredited Board, accredited institution. Okay. And since you're coming to Manitoba and you want to pursue your option, I encourage you to check more of the requirements of the University of Manitoba website for their master's degree program. Okay, you can check with this link as well. When you have successfully completed the exam program assigned to you, you will receive a letter of invitation on when to apply or to apply to become an engineering intern or geoscience, so a EIT or a GIT. And you will be asked to complete the ABC test here. So on. So we're already here. So that's assuming that you have already completed all this part, depending on the option that you took or you opted to take. Now, if you successfully completed the IEEQ program as your option, then you may already have completed the Act, Bylaws, Code of Ethics test or ABC test as it is part of the IEEQ program requirement. If not, then you'll have to coordinate the association's registration coordinator for the test instructions and directions. Here, okay, that's the ABC test. Now, the ABC test is an open book. It's a true or false online test with no time limit, all right? So, but you'll have to get a 90% or higher to pass. And if you fail the ABC test 3 times, the association may ask you to attend an interview to discuss the purpose and function of the association. After the interview, you must complete a long answer version of the ABC test. So when you take the ABC test, my tip is to review first and don't rush it. Some questions may be tricky, but if you have enough preparation before writing the test, it will be a walk in the park. So once the registration committee has declared you as academically qualified, you will receive a letter of instruction with the registration process, which is to submit the member in training application form, and then all the other documents and pay for the fees and start submitting reports for your experiences. Okay. All right. So for the engineering geoscientist reports, you are required to submit 4 years of work experience, of which 3 years of foreign work experience may be acceptable, and 1 year must be in Canada. So you may include up to 6 months of related training or technologist level work in engineering or geoscience, up to 1 year of pre-graduation experience, such as the co-op work experience if you took the IEEQ program. And up to 48 months of postgraduate academic experience may also be accepted, and all experiences must be validated by a professional engineer geoscience. Okay. Okay. What's the other requirement? All right. So as long as you already got your EIT or GIT designation, you can take the professional practice exam. So you don't have to wait until you completed your work experience reports. So let's take for me, for example, when I was declared as like academically qualified by the association, I immediately started reviewing for the professional practice exam and successfully passed the exam on the same year I was declared as academically qualified. So the professional practice exam, it is a national exam, which is now online. Um, I did mine. It wasn't online yet, but today it's now online, and it is actually just based in professionalism, law and ethics. And it's a 2.5 hour exam with 110 multiple choice questions. And it's being offered twice a year, one in spring and one in fall. But always check the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba website for the exact dates, as schedule may change. And the exam fee is $260, and there's no refund or deferrals. So you make sure that you are ready to write the exam before you pay the fee. And the results will be mailed to you within 4 to 6 months. All right. So when you have successfully assigned, I'm sorry, successfully passed the professional practice exam and completed your work experience reports, the association will ask you to submit three references, as I earlier said. So out of these three references, two of which must be professional engineers in Canada. So your references will validate your technical competence, your ability to exercise professional judgment, and assume responsibility for the engineering profession. So your references must also be able to exercise, must also be able to vouch for you that you're actually exercising professional judgments and assuming responsibility. So they will vouch for your professionalism and commitment to the code of ethics as a requirement for the registration to the association. And when you have satisfied all these requirements for your registration, the association's registration committee will invite you to register as professional or as professional engineer or professional geoscientist. Now, once you've submitted your registration and paid the fees, you can now attach the PEng or PGU to your name and practice professional engineer or professional geoscientist in Manitoba legally. All right? Okay. So that's the whole process that we have we talked about earlier. This whole steps here. All right. Okay. So now let's move to the frequently asked questions. All right, frequently asked questions. Okay, number one question. What are the opportunities after getting recognized? Now, there are opportunities. Most people who undergone the recognition process found an engineering-related job in just a few months after completing all the requirements. But note that once you become an engineer intern or a member in training, you can already apply for engineering-related jobs. Okay, next question. What is the employment rate? Okay, so I would invite you to actually go to the Engineers Canada site and look for this labor market file. This is a very good document because okay, so it show you the labor market and the projections and forecasts for employment. All right, so here, for example, this is also found in that document. So it's going to show you the whole, for this slide, it's going to show you the average growth since, I'm sorry, this is 2000, yeah, since 2008, that's right. So this was done in 2014. And in Manitoba, the growth rate is 1.17%. So that much, right? So if you want to pursue a career in engineering, then you will be part or of these statistics to increase this number. All right, so this slide shows the average engineers per 1,000 people. So in Manitoba, there's only 4 people for every 1,000 people that is a professional engineer. The next slide is the total number of practicing engineers in Canada, and this is um, statistics from 2015. There's 5,261 engineers in Canada, in Manitoba. All right. Okay. So included um, in that file as well, or that document from the label market, you'll find there the forecasted job openings annually in the next 5 years. So here you can see that civil engineering is 25,000 jobs openings, mechanical 21,000, and so on and so forth, right? But this is all of Canada. Okay. All right. So most people would ask me too, like, how much would it cost, and what is the time frame if I'm going to pursue my professional engineering designation uh, in Canada? Well, the cost and time frame is actually dependent on the number of exams the applicant is assessed to take, as I've mentioned earlier, because you may be assessed just to take 3 exams, right? And then also it also depends on the option that you are going to take. So let's say, for example, you want to go back to school and apply for the IEEQ program. And so the cost of that would be is incomparable if you were just actually taking one exam, like the fundamental of engineering exam, because you're just taking one exam, right? So it's different. So it really depends on what option you're going to take. And the same with time frame. It also depends on the option that you choose. So really the time frame and the timeline is ultimately up to you. Okay. However, I'm going to show you here, okay, in this slide is uh, the cost. So you can find this different cost in the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba website. So that's the different fee schedule if you're going to take a different option, right? Well, the different options and the exams. So some of them are just actually just estimates, okay? All right. Now there's also a question. Um, are are evening classes available? Well, unfortunately, the classes that you're going to take, because you are actually just being assessed for your engineering degree, so you're actually going back to take regular engineering courses at the university. So there are no evening classes. The you are going to attend the regular class offered by the university. So if you are like thinking of, okay, I want to take these courses in lieu or the in the IEEQ program, then there's no classes specifically for you to attend to during the evenings. You have to attend the regular classes schedule available. Okay, this one is very interesting. Where to get scholarships, grants, or bursaries. Okay, so there are some available sources of what do you call it, funding or loans or available uh, financial for your financial requirements. So one of them is the Employment Manitoba, the Advanced Learning Division. So if you are an internationally educated professionals or entering your profession, if you want to get back to your profession, then they may be able to help you with the tuition, books, and associated with the membership process. So you have to be here uh, and apply for the for this program. So you have to go to the Service Canada and look for Employment Manitoba and ask for a counselor for the Advanced Learning Division. And there's also SEED Winnipeg, the recognition counts, or the SEED Winnipeg recognition counts. So this is for a skilled immigrant to work in their field of expertise. So engineering is also included in this program. So, and you also there's also available career and financial counseling. And for this Sid Winnipeg, you can loan up to 10,000 through a Cinnamon Credit Union. Now, just going back to Employment Manitoba, so this is when you go there, you will be assessed on a case-to-case basis. So depending on your situation during the time of application, then you will be assessed. Maybe you may be able to get some support for tuition, or you may not. Or you may just get support for books, or you may not. So it really depends. So, but what I would suggest is actually to make sure that you go there, you check with the counselor, with the Advanced Learning Division, and ask for the available options for you or program for you. Now there is also the Manitoba Student Aid. Now, this is supplemental financial assistance for post-secondary education as well. Now, depending on the number of courses that you are taking, like if you are going full-time or part-time, it depends. The Manitoba Student Aid can provide you with financial assistance. Well, the good thing about this is just a one application. If you're going to apply for a Manitoba Student Aid, the provincial and federal student loans and grants are already uh, like available for you for application. So if you're going for full time, I would really suggest that you apply for this student aid if you need some financial assistance, because you may qualify for not only loans and bursaries, but you may also qualify for grants. And grants is free money; you don't have to pay for it. But you will. But just as I said, you need to apply for it, and depending on your situation, when you applied for the student aid, then you may or you may not get this loan, grants, or bursary. But still, I would suggest that you apply for it if you need the financial assistance. Okay, there's also the Immigrant Access Fund. So you can actually borrow money from the Immigrant Access Fund and up to $10,000. So they said here for this is probably from their data that most people would actually just borrow around 6,000, and I think that's um, that's probably what I spent when I went for the IEEQ program. And the annual interest rate is RBC, or this is the Royal Bank of Canada prime rate plus 1%, and is actually set quarterly. And the interest rate is of the microloans is 4.2%, and there will be some repayment schedule. So if you are also want to check this um, Immigrant Access Fund, you go to their website and read and research on your own on how to actually get this funding. Okay. Now, say for example, you didn't get any of those support or financial assistance from those other institutions that I provided you. There's still bank. Bank also offers a student loan, and they also offer credit line for students. So when I applied for a credit line for students at the Royal Bank of Canada, they actually approved me for $50,000 to $60,000, and I told them, what would I need that for, right? But I was approved that amount. So it's this is the good thing about this, because just apply for it, and when they're actually approve you for that, go for it, get it, because that is something that you can actually use when you need it. You don't actually, it doesn't mean that you actually use it. It's just, it's really good that you have something that is in there in case that you need it. So I would suggest that you apply for it. Anyways, you can, you have a 6 months grace period after your completion of studies to start paying for this loan, and then it's actually just it's also payable in 10 years. So it's really good, right? Okay, sorry. This is the last slides I was talking about, yeah, for the banks. Okay. So let's go to the next slide, the RRSP. So this is actually for people who've already been uh, in Canada for quite some time. So when you already when you get a job, then you start contributing to your retirement. This is the pension plan. Then you will be allowed up to 10,000 per year for to finance your education if you're going back to school. And it's also up to 20,000 over consecutive years. But this is also depending on how much money that you have contributed to your pension, right? Okay. Now, if you don't have pension, then maybe you have personal savings. Then you can apply or use that personal savings for this. If not, then maybe you can ask support for your parents, relatives, and friends. But what I'm telling you here is that I don't think that because most people would actually say that, oh, it's very hard to go back to school. I don't have money. But really, there is available money for you if you want to actually use it. But if you want to use it, it's just that you need to have a plan to make sure that it will work for you. Because I guarantee you, once you completed your program, you will be able to pay it very easily. Okay. Now there are also other programs when you're already in the if you're getting the or going back to school rather. So if you're going back to the University of Manitoba itself also offers bursaries, scholarship, and grants. And this is very easy. You just go to their website and then you just apply whatever is bursaries, scholarships, and grants that is applicable to your program. So let's say, for example, in engineering, there are bursaries, scholarship, and grants that are available for engineering students. So you'll just have to apply for it. And if you qualify, then good. You have extra financial assistance, right? And these are bursaries and scholarships and grants. You don't have to pay for it. So you just need to apply for it. And there's also a bursary that's being offered by the Manitoba Hydro. It's as a company here in Manitoba, which also offers bursary for engineering students and also internationally educated engineers. So it's going back to university. And our association as well, the Filipino members chapter is also offering bursary for Filipino members. And I believe some of the members chapter also offered the same bursary. So you just have to contact them to make sure or ask them about it. Okay. And what's the next question here? It's what are the ways of getting recognized without going back to school? Okay, if you don't want to go back to school, then you just have to take the option of taking the confirmatory exams or taking the fundamental of engineering exams. Or if the interview option was offered to you, then you can take that option as well. So that's the available option for you. Okay, so is it hard to get a job after being recognized? Okay, this is very subjective question because it really depends, right? I mean, by the time that you completed all your requirements, it's very hard to say that people who or companies are will actually be hiring people with your expertise and your background. And it's very difficult to pinpoint that, right? But really, at the end of the day, if you don't apply for jobs, then you won't you won't get hired. But if you just start applying for jobs, and of course, you need to work hard on it as well. Now, let's take me for example. I'm not I'm not trying um, to scare you, but really after I completed my program, it took me 180 plus applications before I actually landed a job. Yeah, and that's in the span of 4 months. So it's really up to you. Now, I've also known people that they didn't even have to apply. Why? Because the employer that they had, like for example, in the IEEQ program, they got their co-op in that company, and that company, that employer, actually liked them a lot, and they were absorbed and they were offered jobs right after they graduated. And that's really good, right? They didn't even have to apply for a job because it was being offered to them already. So it really depends. So this question is really very subjective. So I'll leave that to you, and I will leave this question also to other speakers that will be speaking after me. So we have actually invited other people to speak more about the options that they took. So you will meet other people who will be talking about the IEEQ program, other people who have actually taken the fundamental of engineering exams, people who have taken the confirmatory exam, and someone who uh, took the interview, and what's the other one? And someone who actually took the courses in lieu uh, program. So you'll see and uh, you'll hear what they say about those options. Okay. So can you give tips on how to pass the fundamental of engineering exam? Okay. Well, I will actually leave this question to the person who's going to talk about the fundamental of exam. Let's hear it from him directly and how he actually managed to successfully pass the fundamental of engineering exam. Okay. So these are the other references that you may want to check. Okay, so check the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba website and check for the registration frequently asked question. And if you want to uh, check about the how much an engineer in training or a professional engineer is actually making, then you can go for the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba website and check the salary survey so you would know. And if not, if your specialization is not in there, you can also go to payscale.com and check there. All right. Okay. So that concludes our webinar today, and I hope that you learned something from it today. And again, congratulations and continue your research. And if you have questions, feel free to contact Milda with SOPA and the people that I have mentioned earlier in my slides. And you can also visit the Filipino Members Chapter website, fmc-egm.ca, or the Engineers Geoscientist Manitoba website. And just say hi, drop us a note, and keep in touch. And I hope to see you all when you get here in Manitoba. And thank you for listening and have fun learning your road to PNG. Thank you.